let's just get into it, right? As you can see, Bennacer extends with Milan. We have the ticker and everything. Here's the official announcement. Di Marzio is the main one, but we have it in English here. So again, Milan have agreed to a contract extension, and this is massive news. And this is kind of something that we were talking about when we just came on here and streamed through the Riverside, not the official setup. But it's really a great day for Milan. And again, if you guys have missed any part of this, we're going to be clipping the Bennacer portion of this and putting it on my YouTube, so you can go and follow that. And then again, separate that with the Roma. But streams are streams. They're fun for hangout engagement. We love you guys. We love talking to you. Hopefully to have some of you back on here. But again, Matt, I had pretty good vibes about renewals. You did as well. I think we both did with Bennacer more so than Rafael Leao, who I'm sure we could get into in the future. But again, Bennacer 2027 contract extension is going up to 4 million net per season. That's right, around $500,000 less than what Theo Hernandez is getting. And the release clause is still included at 50 million euro. I would like to say this though. 50 million euro was the clause that was previously existing on Bennacer's contract. So some people are freaking out already about that being in there. Yes, he's better than he's been, but also at the same time, he's not that much better this season than he's been in recent years. So I think if teams were really in on that 50 million clause, they would have done so by now. But again, nonetheless, he's staying here for the foreseeable future. This is huge, Matt, for Milan to lock this down. They lost Kessie for free. Obviously, Franks, Pobega, others are younger and not nearly as talented as obviously Tonali. But Ismael Bennacer is one of these main core guys that's going to be here for the foreseeable future with Milan. And there's nothing but positivity about this.
Yeah, the just obviously running down through the finer details. I'm sure more information might come out about other aspects of this, how this sort of came about. But look, when you look at the figure, right, the wage figure, which is very important here, right? You have to be mindful of that as Milan, right? Because you're re-upping a lot of these players. The money is coming from somewhere when it comes to the wage bill, the market. Like everything has to be kind of analyzed and looked at a little more closely than other bigger clubs, due to the financial differences. And when you look at the figure that he's getting, I mean, that's a very good wage for the player. The player's getting rewarded for taking those exponential leaps in his game since his original contract dating back to 2019. You're getting, yes, the release clause is still in there, which I know that's a concern for a lot of people because they feel that maybe in this market, in this football landscape, he is probably worth more than that. And you can make a claim, right? I know people are saying, well, Enzo Fernandez has a 120 million plus price tag on it. It's a different animal. And we know that a lot of times South American players do tend to get that little bit more jacked up value. That's just kind of what comes with the territory. But if
much younger as well.
Yeah, younger as well. And just coming off a World Cup victory. I think that's a great point too, right? That's something else I wanted to talk about. Everyone's looking at, and that's kind of maybe innocently in the culture of Milan fans, right? There's always the but, and I'm thinking to myself, we just locked up Sandro Tonali pretty recently ago to a long-term contract.
Correct.
Now we're locking up Bennacer, our core midfield, one of, if not the best midfield.
We got Teo this time last year as well.
Teo is locked up. Calabria, however you feel about him, is locked up. You're locked up Salamakers. You locked up Giroud's going to be coming very soon. Pobega. So, you have to look at the positives to this. Milan didn't shell out a ton of cash. They didn't overspend for this. I feel like this is a very fair wage that Bennacer is getting. And I think it also allows Milan to still do what they want to do on the market as far as, if they want to go out there and buy somebody else and have to maybe stretch the wage bill a little bit to get that premium player in there, because that's sometimes what you have to do, then they can. The wage is fair for both player and club. I'm very happy this gets done. I know there was a lot of pessimism regarding this, and I get that in the build-up. But I think, this is a really good reward for Milan. This is a really good reward for Bennacer, who's been a great servant to this club. He's really shown that he could take on a heavier role. He does it with so much consistency, very sharp. And look, there's people that can make the argument that, over the past couple of years, whether it been Tonali being the best, Kessie being the best, Bennacer, maybe consistency-wise, the best midfielder Milan have had since 2019 has been Bennacer. He's been very consistent. I know
Yeah.
Donnelly had the very rough first year, but Bennacer is very,
And
very
then
vital to the project.
Kessie regression last year.
Kessie regression last year. And isn't it great
Right.
that we're able to retain, this is my last point, isn't it great that we're able to retain a player like Bennacer, who not only from the fans' eyes is obviously very vital, very influential, and very important to the present and the future of this project,
Yep.
but we heard it from Sandro Tonali himself a couple weeks ago. He said Leao is very important in his own way. We know how good Leao is. We know how
Said it
prolific he
again
is.
midweek.
But he did say, he's like, make no mistake about it. He was very clear. Benacer's super valuable to this team as well. When you get that deal done, you don't think Tonali's looking at and saying, I got my partner signing long term too. You don't think he's happy a little bit? I think he is. So this is a very good victory for Milan and a nice little gift ahead of the match tomorrow.
Yeah, so a couple things. Can't even forget to mention the Kalulu extension as well.
Yep,
Something massive over the winter as well. I really do think that this Bennacer thing, again, it's only a positive, man. Like, listen, we're talking about a 4 million euro per season player. Like, that's nothing. Kessie, remember, just a year ago was asking for 6.5. These are more reasonable. Hakan was asking this specific wage as well. So when Milan was sitting there saying, hey, we don't want to go forward and overpay these guys because they think they're worth this amount, like Theo and Bennacer are essentially on steals at this point, in my opinion, especially when I just got done watching Juve and you got Rabiot asking for more than 7 million net per season. Okay. So you always have to look around. And then again, I want to just move it really quick before we move on to the Roma stuff. At the end of this Di Marzio article, it's still been said that Giroud and Leao are the next two moves that Milan want to make in terms of extensions. We've heard Giroud through next season. He currently expires soon. And then Rafael Leao. And the latest was with Rafael Leao and that contract extension offer. And we'll just sneak this in the Bennacer video. The latest offer has been around 6.5 million net, plus 1.2 in bonuses. And then the lawsuit for Sporting is going to be left back to Lille. And both parties have agreed to leave that out of these contract talks, which is massive. And I really think it's important when you see people like Pippo Inzaghi even stepping in, Matt. I'm not sure if you saw his comments about Leao saying how unique it is to be a superstar at this club as opposed to anywhere else. Yes. That was the other one. Thank you. And that really speaks to it. And then you have Zlatan Ibrahimovic in your ear, who's been helping you since you have arrived. And again, I thought it was a very interesting statistic, and this is a great way to show that Milan are putting in a great offer for Leao, Matt. I don't think you saw this one, but Leao off of this latest offer from Milan, and what it would reach at 7.7 would be a top 25 paid player in the Premier League. That's pretty significant, to be honest with you, at his age. And coming from an Italian club like this in Milan, this is exactly what Redbird needed to do. If it wasn't a free spending type of January, you have to lock down the key players. They've done so, and that's all they've done since they've arrived.
Retention. And I talked about this. I think it was on our when we did the Riverside a couple weeks ago. I think in the build up to the holiday season, we talked about what makes a significant, what makes a dynasty, right? I know Milan, that's what the goal is right here, to win multiple trophies with this group, to take deep runs in the Champions League. Well, teams that tend to do those things retain top players. You look at the city eras, right? And I know we're pairing apples to oranges. The money's different, right? But hear me out here. David Silva, Yaya Toure, Kevin De Bruyne, like pillar players they were able to keep for years. Sergio Aguero. Like, you need to have those crops of players in the team if you're really going to have this thing be full of longevity. And I think that's what we're starting to look up and down this roster, right? You just mentioned it. We rattled off the names. Tonali, Calabria, Theo, your two midfielders, your two best midfielders. Like, there's no concerns there. You have two premium, young, controllable midfielders now that you can see at the heart of this project for the foreseeable future.
And Astor Franks.
Astor Franks. I mean, the buyout clause, like the guy is getting more nods and more reps over Pobega lately, which speaks volumes to, I think, what Pioli sees in him. I think he's a different profile. He offers something a little bit different, something that this Milan team it needs. So I think we want to look at the bigger picture here. And I know people saying, yes, we need to spend and we need to get more players. And I agree with you. I absolutely do. But I think you can't treat you have to also look at these things together and say, well, look, if we lost this player. Can we get a player
Mhm.
better on the market than Bennacer right now? No, you can't.
No,
You really
no.
can't in this market. So the fact that Milan are able to retain these top players, and mind you, and Leao, of course, if we're able to get that done, these are players that they're
Looking
not just
likely.
like good Serie A players. Like
They're elite. They're elite Serie A
these are a
players.
handful of players that they're Champions League players. Teo, Leao, like these are players that if they were having that conversation on a broader scale, and we're talking with Europe and
Yeah.
bigger picture,
Yep.
having that caliber of player that is able to be more so than just a Serie A performer. Like for example, Jack Bonaventura was a really good Milan player
Yep.
in Serie A.
Sure.
You think he would have done anything in the Champions League that's spectacular? Probably not, and that's no disrespect, but there's levels to this
Yeah,
game.
just yeah,
And I
there's
think that's
just
what we
no
have
way
to
of
look at
knowing.
with this Milan project. So when you're able to keep